Hey friends, my name's Georgie, and what a pleasure it is to have you listening to the Just Breathe podcast, where I'll be talking all things breathing to help empower you guys to use the power of your breath to harness your bodies and minds. In today's episode, I'll be nattering away to Megan Westpfel. Now, Megan is such a light of a woman and one of many talents. Megan is a professional performer, podcast host of the Get to Know podcast, as well as a provider of guided meditations and card readings. Megan was so generous in sharing the story of her spiritual journey with me. We also got talking about what it means to be a woman, the journey to connecting to self, as well as the incredible power of community. It really was such an awe-inspiring conversation, and I really hope you walk away with as many insights as I did. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Just Breathe podcast if you haven't already. Let's keep on building that strong breathing community. There is so much power in togetherness. When people breathe together, there is so much hope and there is so much light. All right, let's dive right on in to this powerful conversation. I hope you walk away from this feeling uplifted and inspired. I certainly did. This is episode 23 of Just Breathe with Megan Westpfel. What's up, Megan? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. I really am. I feel really calm and gooey today. So it's nice to just, have a lovely chat.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling. Amazing. So listen, I'd love to dive in to your story. I was just saying before, I myself don't even know that much about your journey. So I'm really excited to hear what brought you to being so passionate about sharing these methods of healing and sort of self-inquiry, connection to yourself and other people. There's so many brilliant things that you stand for that I resonate with so much. And so I'm fascinated to hear what got you there, really.
Yeah. Well, not to kind of dive in deep too quick, but this is just me being real. I have suffered a lot with mental health problems. I suffer with depression and eating disorders.
Yeah.
When I was in my teens, and I experienced a lot of suffering and grief when I was younger.
Yeah.
In more so, I'd say internally, but I also witnessed it in a lot of others around me for what was going on in my circles.
Yeah.
And I have always been super sensitive. And I guess growing up, I never really knew how to deal with that or how to deal with my empathy and also going through puberty. It just, I was a mess. I was not a mess, but I was troubled, you could say. And I basically, long story short, I was hospitalized and I hated it so much in there. And I was meant to be starting dance college that year. This is like January time, and I was meant to be starting dance college that year. And I just was like, do you know what? It was a good thing, but I guess at the time it was more so like, get me out of here. I'm just going to do what they say just so I can get out.
Yeah.
But it kind of did make me, to say it matter of factly, start eating again. But when I left the hospital, I completely rejected therapy. I completely rejected any sort of care because I was just like, I am putting on the biggest mask and no one's ever going to know about this because I'm going to start a new life. That was my kind of,
that was the vision.
That was my coping process. And then obviously, so the whole of that summer was, I don't know, I started doing drugs at that age, and that was really young. I didn't start doing it heavily, but I kind of first tried it, and then it was during college. No one knew about me, but I think my addiction to food. No, I was not addicted to drugs, but I definitely I definitely abused them, you could say.
Right. At around 15, 16 was this, or 17?
Around 17, 18
okay.
now.
Still
But
young. Yeah,
still very young. And I had an amazing time at college, but I also, I was still not very well in the head. I remember people asking me about, you've lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I'm just, whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't eating well. And basically, I just didn't take care of myself. And then straight after that, so not only did straight after hospital, I went straight into college. As soon as I finished college, I went straight into work. So I didn't, like, if I look at it in the timeline, I never had a break to process my mental health or process my recovery, because it just went one after the other.
Yeah.
And obviously leaving dance college, I, was so grateful to work, and I loved working, but I was still, I was still so tormented in my mind, and I was still I had unhealthy behaviors.
Wow.
I was in a relationship that was very unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And it basically, to start off this kind of self-inquiry, help, whatever, this journey of what I now look back on as recovery, it was when I was with that boyfriend, and we broke up. And it was obviously, first boyfriend, of course it's rubbish.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like a massive, I had an epiphany moment of, oh my God, like I'm by myself. Now I'm going to be more exposed to myself than ever. Like, maybe this is a chance for me to like figure myself out a bit, because I'm really not doing well in,
something's not quite working here.
Yeah, exactly. And then in that year, I was already starting to feel this way. That's why we broke up. But I decided that I was going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro
right.
for the charity Mind. And I think it was my kind of way of being like, I need help, but let me give back and help others somehow. So I raised like an amazing amount of money for the charity Mind. And that was so beautiful. And the process of training for Kilimanjaro, I instantly thought, okay, yeah, let's just get fit. I was running so much, and just it was feeding my, insecurity. But then I discovered yoga, and I was like, do you know what? Apparently we need to be able to breathe on the mountain because of altitude.
Right.
So I was like, well, yoga, you breathe. So I started to go yoga, and I started to, just do meditations. And, even though my intention was, this will help me breathe up the mountain, obviously, naturally, I started to find a lot of beautiful peace, and just kind of like, oh, this is nice to kind of still the mind. But even then I was like, my mind was very loud, and I really struggled to meditate back then, because I felt that when I went into a quiet place within, I could hear everything that was going on in my mind.
Yeah, everything you were covering up with everything else, for sure.
Exactly. And that was, but I guess I was able to kind of think, well, do you know what? Let's use this mountain to really kind of deal with that. And when we did the climb itself, we were walking for like 8 hours a day of just like nothingness. So you had a lot of time to think, and just kind of, be surrounded by the most beautiful views you've ever seen.
Yeah, of course.
And so that really was, I'd say, the kickstart of my kind of like, okay, of healing, really, of healing. And I guess since then, it opened up avenues. I instantly was like, okay, I need to travel more. I love traveling. I love escaping. I love going to the furthest and farthest corners of the land.
Yeah.
And I did that, and whilst traveling, and I just continued this kind of like all these methods of yoga, meditation, breath work, even just mingling with people from different cultures, and just being very fuck it. Sorry, I don't know if you can, if I'm allowed to swear.
Please swear.
But being very just fearless and actually kind of meeting myself in all the ways. And I had so many treatments and therapies with these kind of shamans and amazing, you know, energy healers. And and it's, I think by going, it helped me kind of go to dark places within, and, you know, came back to UK, jumped back into work again, definitely had a healthier mindset. Like I was definitely like, okay, cool, I know what I need to do, I am much better. But still the voice was so loud, like so loud. And it's only during COVID that, obviously, I'm sure, as all of us have, you know, it was another opportunity to heal. It was another opportunity for me to go, okay, let's get this, let's sort this voice out, because I'm done being dictated by it. And I began to hear, like, you know, from spending a lot of time with it and doing a lot of work, and I began to uncover where that voice came from. And I started to get angry, and I started to feel this like power of, no, I'm not letting this happen to me. And why the fuck is it, have we all been indoctrinated to believe that we're not enough? How have we all been forced by media, by the world, that our bodies don't look good enough? Like we're not, like the idea of perfection, the idea of manipulation in everything. I just I had so much rage, and I just felt, okay, right, I'm on a mission now. And someone said to me on a treatment I did, you know, now you've got this anger, turn your poison into nectar. And I just was like, I get it. I'm able to look at my past and go, that happened. Now let's share how that is not allowed to happen to anyone else. And so I've just got this burning anger, but passion, you could say, to really like help people. Hopefully, you know, we all go into dark places in our life. When dark times happen, that's the biggest moments for change and growth. So welcome it, but learn how to regulate. Can you regulate? Yes. Do you regulate? You know?
Right.
And so I'm really excited about my journey, and I'm loving providing meditations. I've really tapped into that just from my own, you know, experiencing it myself, and knowing how the mind really can be absolutely mental and unmanageable. So hopefully I can help, you know, bring people to find the gaps in between those thoughts, almost swimming through like a current. And then card readings, I've been doing cards for a few years now, every single morning. And so I have a lovely intuition there, and it's been very guiding for me. So I guess everything I'm offering is because of personal experience and because of what's worked for me. But it's so important to say, and I'm sure you can say this as well, Georgie, that what works for everyone is different. And it's about finding that, I guess. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, sorry, that was incredibly powerful to hear, and I resonate with so much of what you're saying. And I just think it's amazing what you're speaking of in terms of the truth of harnessing your adversities to use them to your advantage, but not ignoring those adversities, acknowledging that they are there, they are present, they may even still be within your body, within your spirit, whatever you call it. But the fact that you can harness it and turn that anger into power, like you said, or into nectar, using that anger as passion to help other people to have hope that it doesn't have to be this way. Even if it is this way, we don't need to be lost in the black hole that is this way. And it really resonated with me when you said about the anger. I went through a similar thing. The more I learn, the more I have these moments of absolute rage, of the atrocities that I never realized before. One, because I didn't realize they were there before, and so then I feel a bit ignorant. And then two, the same of, wait a minute, why is the whole world trying to market people to feel not good enough, to sell products? Are you kidding me? that why it's this constant turning of more that's actually sucking more power from us. And I agree that the more women and men that I meet, they're on this mission to bring people back, because it's not a going, I don't know if you agree, but it's not a going anywhere I've found on my journey. It's a coming back to yourself. It's a stripping away those bits that don't serve you and that perhaps were learnt or conditioned somewhere along the way. And I heard that in you as well, that sort of, this is not me, this is not my true nature, this is something else, and it's not helping me. And I have, especially through COVID as well, been up and down with my mental health and faced the same sort of things where you're like, no, this is not who I am, but it's part of me, and I need to face it and use it. And I think helping other women and guys as well do that is amazing. And I don't know, what do you think? I think the performing world actually, in ways it doesn't help, but in ways it having that creativity and that fluidity already in the body certainly helps in terms of connecting within. How do you find that?
Totally. Thank you for what you just said. That's beautiful. So if I'm just going to speak about dancing, you could relate what I'm about to say to singing or acting or whatever side of the performing industry. So as a dancer, I started dancing because, I loved moving to music. It's a very natural expression. Dancing itself is something that, anyone can do. Anyone can do, and it makes you feel good. It can help, bring laughter and bring, this good vibes into the body. It can help release, like you can, it's a very emotional thing. It's a very emotional thing. And as especially if you're someone who continues that and continues to explore how they move, which can, essentially lead you into a very good dancer, because you understand how you move or how you can learn someone else's. There can be such an emotional connection to that. Like for me, I know that dance has been my way of expressing what I couldn't say or what I didn't know how to process yet. I was always told I was very full out. And I know that's probably because I had so much stress in me that I just was like, this is the only way I can speak. And I know that sounds a bit intense, but I do believe that's true. And 100%. And so, because these are natural things, these are things that technically anyone can do, like even singing, like, you're only basing if you can or can't sing on really good singers, but actually we can all like hold a tune or just release sounds from our chest, our throat. Yes, exactly. Like, and just letting it out, because there is energy stored in the body and it's how you can move it around. So it's very, it's a very human and spiritual experience, I believe. But we choose, this is a choice we make, and that's absolutely fine because it's a wonderful industry. We choose to use what we love and put it into what we do as a career. And that's amazing, because how many people can say that? How many people can say they do what they love for a living? So I'm putting that out there first to say, like, I do not take for granted the fact that I, before COVID, got to wake up most days, not every day because it's a self-employment life, but and go, I dance for a living. I do what I love to do. I love to dance. It just heals me, and it's fun. But unfortunately, the industry, where we perform in, and what surrounds it, because essentially what we're performing in is media. It's media, and it's very much about what you look like. It's very much about this sense of like how you have to show up 100%, always absolutely fine, always ready, always willing. And it's kind of, there's a lot of toxic.
There is, I agree.
Within it. And it's a shame because, essentially we're all, again, I'm just using dance as an example. We're all just hungry dancers who love what we do and who just want to do what we love for a living and perform in front of thousands of people. Like, that's the inner child being like, I want to do that. But then unfortunately, I say, I'm going to just put it out there, I'm not going to say I understand, but I can understand, just even though I just said it, how some people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And they see us as products. They see us as humans without anything in them. We're props.
Yeah.
And they don't have the empathy or the compassion to see that, this is what we do. This is what we love. And we can be really, what's it called? Just, we can be weaponized. We can be made as, this a body and
sexualized.
Sexualized. That's what I was going to say. And it's just, I guess my opinion is, it's at the root of what we do. It's absolutely pure and beautiful
and free.
But unfortunately, the more you step into it as a career, the more you get regimented and turn into a robot.
I agree. 100%.
And so it's always important to, if there's any advice I can give to anyone who's a performer, it's always important to have that balance, know that there is a side of you that does that for a living and know when to apply it, but also constantly feed that purity, constantly feed the feeling of just having a dance, not needing to know if you look good doing it or what you're wearing, or just
curiosity and play. 100%.
Exactly.
100%. And it's a difficult one, and one I've been struggling with myself as well, in terms of COVID and that pause of, is this serving me? And I've been through a really interesting experience. This is slightly off topic, but with the contraceptive pill, I suppose it's not. Well, ever since I've come off the contraceptive pill, which of course pumps synthetic hormones into your body, which is about 6 months ago now, I've had almost an identity crisis of who am I? And since reading up, it's been revealed to me that obviously hormones are not just, I was classed as hormones as just your period, or those things that shift a little bit and you might get a bit of a higher temperature. No, hormones regulate and control when you're hungry, when you are feeling like you want to get sexy or not, or feeling you want to be active and exercise or not, if you're sleepy or whatever. It dictates so many bodily systems and functions, including that regulation of emotions and the nervous system. It's everything, your thought, how you think, how you see reality, everything that makes you who you are. And so I had this incredible realization that I had not experienced my true self in full flow as an adult until 6 months ago, because I went on the pill when I was 16 for a couple of spots, by the way, which is something I'm passionate about educating younger generations about, is this use of the pill as a plaster. But I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but it's interesting with what you said as well, in terms of remembering who you are and not being conditioned into you are a performer. And I try and say to young performers that say, I'm a dancer, I say, well, you're a human that dances. You are, it doesn't define everything about your being. I'm sure you have many other parts of yourself that aren't dancing and that are just as amazing and wonderful. And
because that's the thing, that's them saying, which is fine. Like, I know I said it for majority of my life until I had a moment where, because dance is what you do, is what you love for, it's your passion. Like, that is, of course you want to spend all your time doing it, and then of course you're going to do it for a living, and then of course then that's everything that you do, and that's wonderful. But it's always it's really important to remember that do not diminish that love and light, do not diminish that passion, but know that that is an aspect of you. Every other part of you is, I encourage one to explore. And I hope, and without expectations as I say this, but maybe this year has been an opportunity for people to explore other sides of themselves and to honor that. And if anyone's listening to this and they're like, well, I haven't, then that's also okay, because nothing's interested you so far, and that's okay. Like, it's just part of the process. That's a discovery
in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a discovery in itself. And I've definitely been through a similar thing, and such an interesting self-inquiry, which it sounds like you also went through, in terms of figuring out this voice. Mine was sort of figuring out my
inner being as a woman, I suppose, that I was literally like, once these synthetic hormones are not going around my body anymore, it sounds dramatic, but I quite literally see the world differently.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like the contraception. Well, sorry, I couldn't say that. Is nuts. I mean, I've spoke to a few women over this past year who have done the same thing, come off the pill or whatever, the coil, even coil implant. And it's been such a not dramatic, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's been a real shift. Like when I was on the pill, I think I did 2 types of pills when I was in my teens. And I went on the pill because I'd started, having sex. And then I went on the implant, and it's savage because I went on the implant and I stopped having periods for 2 years, didn't have a period at all. And me being, at the time, like I mentioned, not very well, even though I might have looked all right, I wasn't very well, was like, thank God, like, oh my God, I'm not having periods. Like, I don't have to deal with my body changing each month. It was literally, like you said, like a plaster, like a numbing. And I remember working at Hollister and I remember saying it to someone, and this girl went, what? You don't have periods? That's so wrong. And I remember being really offended, like, you can't tell me what's wrong. And now, like, it was when interesting you mentioned that, because if I think about the time I broke up with my boyfriend, I came off that I took that implant out, and maybe there was a shift in me hormonally as well. But when I didn't then, so if I stopped taking, if I got the implant out my arm and at about July time, I only started getting my periods back around June time the year after.
Oh my goodness.
And that in itself was, I didn't suffer with period pains before, and it's only up until this year I feel like I've started to regulate my own, menstruation. But it's I mean, that is a topic in itself that I really,
of course,
the only knowledge I have on that is my own personal knowledge and from speaking to other women. So I can't, give you facts and figures, but I don't think it's a good idea.
I mean, I completely agree. And unless you have something serious like polycystic ovary syndrome and those things, there are ways and means that it is necessary. But the way it is utilized today in the sort of pharmaceutical industry as a plaster, as an ignorance to women's health.
Yeah, it's just kind of like thrown at women, or it's like expected that this is the only way, like without even thinking, like I didn't, and this is no shade to my mum at all, but I literally I thought that was part of life. You went on the pill.
Me too.
And it was just kind of, and I'm sure to her it was as well. And it's only as we've grown up in this time that it's like, hang on a minute, I think it would be wonderful. Like, I hope that I'd do something like this for my daughter if I have one, to teach them about the cycles of women's menstruation and like how you can, the
lunar cycle and your body. It's so, because, and this is the thing is, if you just look around you for a second, it's so simple. The weather is constantly shifting and changing, and we go through the seasons of the month. The moon goes through a cycle. Everything is in a rhythm and a cycle. How on earth could we expect to take the same pill every day, go through the same routines, eat the same thing for dinner on a Friday and Saturday, and feel good in our own bodies when we're not actually, we're just not listening? And this is the looping back round to your story that I really felt touched by was when you said I actually started to listen. And, I feel the same. When COVID happened and I was an adrenaline junkie, go all the time, never stopped, because I didn't want to face any of my demons. So I just kept going, and was even in hospital once, just so burnt out because, and I thought, I had some awful virus, or I mean, can't say that now, but at the time, some awful virus, and years ago, and they said, nope, she's just exhausted. And it makes so much sense now that I wasn't listening. And to help other women, as you are doing, find space and listen. And I don't know about you, but I think it takes a while for people to catch on because it's so simple. People go, no.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's the amount of, and it's only like, well, sorry, let me think before I speak. You hear it so much in society, and wonderfully, even more so nowadays. It's so wonderful that it's really starting to be pushed more, and probably is because of COVID. But you know, about mental health, or just, you know, calming the mind, having balance in one's life, and you know, you can hear something 1,000 times, but it just takes that 1,001st time for the light bulb to switch on. And sometimes it is just about kind of trusting. Sometimes you do need to kind of follow some trends. Sometimes you do need to kind of, you know, jump on some bandwagons until you start figuring out how that resonates with yourself. Like, for example, I started off in Bikram Yoga, and I literally I was hooked on it, and I didn't really know why. I just knew it was physical and like it's got me sweating, and I just loved that because obviously, and I followed a trend because it was very hyped to around the time when I was doing it as well. And then it's only after I then started to think, oh my God, I'm so tired. And I just was like, maybe this isn't, you know, and then I started to think, well, yoga is meant to be calm. Why am I stressed? And not that, you know, to each their own. Some people, Bikram is their life. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of about, like I said this recently, you know, never stop learning, never stop discovering or being curious. And if someone, you know, that's how teachers are born, because if someone, you know, is practicing what they preach and is seeming to be really good, you know, in themselves, however that looks like, then of course people are going to be like, I want whatever she's having, you know, I want whatever they're having. And you almost want to know some secrets. You want to know secrets of teachers, and you want to be like, how do you feel like that? How did that make you do that? And usually the root of everything is, you know, be still and listen. Mostly, you know.
And you know, I've learned over this lockdown and through obviously my personal inquiry with teaching breathwork and with exploring it myself and yoga, but a lot obviously my sort of love is really the breath. Of course, yoga is rooted in the breath with prana, but the teachers I listen to that have 3 degrees, or you know, that have been teaching for 50 years, the thing that touches me is that they are able to explain in the simplest way, in the most basic principles. The people with the most knowledge always put things so incredibly simply, and usually advise the simplest of methods. Like you said, well, why don't you just sit still and listen for a minute to start with before you try, you know, 4 rounds of Wim Hof and hold your breath for 4 minutes.
And you know what? Like, how it's so frustrating to hear it, isn't it? Like, especially when I mean, I'm not saying that I've reached any sort of other side, but I understand it now. And I think for so long, you'd hear people just be like, just be, or, you know, just like, be still. And you're like, fuck off. Like, it's like, because I think sometimes we're, again, as a society, we're indoctrinated to believe to keep trying, keep going, you'll find it, like you're searching.
Capitalism, energy. Keep growing, always keep growing.
Exactly. Keep going. And sometimes you need to like step out of the rat race to actually just go, oh my God, I'm out of breath. Oh my God. Where am I going? Like, am I going that way or that way? Oh, I was going that way, but actually I want to be heading in that direction because I like the look of what's over there. Wait, where have I come from? What have I learned? Like, it's just moments of stillness, of, you know, stepping to the side of your path and looking around to go, okay, does this feel good? And moments like that, which is why people encourage it every day, because every day you have no idea what's going to happen. Like, this year
have no control either.
Literally, I mean, this year has illuminated it in so many ways that we are so out of control in life. And when we surrender to that and learn that actually the only thing we can control is ourselves. So it's almost like allow yourself to lose control to gain control.
Yes, in a way. Surf that wave of life instead of swimming against the tide, right? And I definitely used to be swimming against those waves, and they were figuratively crashing in my face constantly. And the same, I didn't understand. I thought just being tired was a part of life because I was performing. So I was like, well, you know, I am tired all the time, but that's just That's just the way it is. I'm a really busy person. That's it. Doesn't have to be that way. And that actually my deepest, most connected, insightful ideas and insights have always come from stillness. And to go off your point of people that want to emulate teachers and look up to teachers, I think it's very important as well that even the biggest masters of whatever screw up regularly. It's so important to allow that chaos into your life. Like I said to you before this episode, I feel so disorganized this week, and it's just that thing of I'm in chaos this week, and I'll find the wave and I'll find the flow again, and there'll be a lesson somewhere in there, and it might be a bit painful and a bit sticky and uncomfortable, but there's got to be a lesson in there. And I think that's an interesting thing. And I don't know if you find it with the people you work with meditation and healing card readings, that when people maybe have one card reading, they go, fantastic, good, right, that I've learned, I've grown, and I can go back now. And it's like, no, this is a lifelong journey. It's whatever you call it, spirituality, self-inquiry, actually just anything that's not walking around like a zombie on the hamster wheel of 9 to 5, fish and chips on a Friday, Chinese takeaway on a Saturday, and respect to people who love that life. But personally, it's a path I will never, ever choose, because there's just so much else out there. But where there's light, there's always dark, right? And
it's embracing the wave, the ebbs and flows of how life can be. Because I think social media has kind of got a bit of something to answer to there with regards to if you meditate every day, it's not that by meditating every day you're going to have a happy day every day. No. It's I'm using meditation as an example. Could say anything, whether that's running every day or yoga or journaling, whatever. And it just helps you by tapping into yourself each day. It can help you just check in and know that. I think it's so important to, I don't know why it's so misunderstood, but it's like knowing that we are human beings and we're always going to have crap days. We're always going to have unexpected things happen to us. We're always going to be, really have an unexpectedly amazing day. But my partner said it to me last night. It's kind of, it is very simple. And when you do have those bad days, essentially you are in charge of how you respond to life. And I think by tapping into yourself and understanding your toolkit, you can essentially choose how to respond to anything that kind of happens to you, even if it's horrible. Like I witnessed something so horrible last week, so horrible. I watched a guy jumping in front of the tracks.
Oh God.
And I ran the opposite direction and ran home and cried. But then I was like, I could be, it's important to allow emotion to flow through. That's number one.
Oh, of course.
Like, don't it's like grief. Don't put on a happy smile all the time. Like, allow yourself to cry even when it's really unexpected. Like, I ran home crying and ran past so many people, but I couldn't give a shit. I was just like, I need to get this out of my system. Came back and I just went, okay, how long am I going to let this upset me for? Do I feel like I need to release it? If I do, I give myself permission. I just had a moment of like giving myself permission for this next week, when it was last week, to just be with myself, take care of myself. And I was like, okay, I need to just work a bit extra harder this at the moment for however long it takes to make sure I'm taken care of for me. And it's so easier said than done. Like I am, even when I'm saying all this, like I'm so human. Like my natural response was to make sure, like my kind of thing is when I'm not doing very well, I'll instantly be like, help other people.
Yeah.
Because I feel I just don't want to deal with my own self.
And it makes you feel good as well. It's
totally, it does. But it was in the women's circle that I brought it up, and I was trying to hold space for everyone else, and I couldn't help but be an absolute emotional wreck. And they all all the women in that space really kind of just said to me, you know, take care of yourself, give yourself permission to be upset and be not okay. And I was like, oh my God, I love this circle so much.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that briefly. Your women's circles. What kind of goes on in there? Because I'm sure people listening are intrigued and will hopefully, you know, come along and everything else. And I certainly want to get myself to one. Just building a space to begin with of women supporting each other, that's an amazing thing in itself. But what kind of goes on in a women's circle?
Oh, thank you. So a short bit of background. So women's circles have been happening since as long as women were around. Like, there's an amazing book called The Red Tent, which I really encourage women to read, or anyone who identifies as a woman, you know. Anyone, I recommend anyone. And it was a chance, like, women gathered in different cultures and to bleed, to be under the moon, to be together whilst maybe, you know, a man would be going to war or off hunting, whatever you say. The women would be together to give birth, to cook, to stir the cauldron, to laugh, to cry, to die, you know. And so it was very much this sisterhood. And as the patriarchy came, we were burnt. We were absolutely, you know, made into household furniture, and we didn't exist. Like, just a really fun fact, just a fun fact, because it's hilarious. Kind of going off subject, but we'll go with it. So end of the 1800s, before the microscope was made, before they knew that, men believed that women had nothing to do with making a baby. They believed that the sperm were tiny little men running into a woman's tummy to make a child.
Fantastic.
And then with the microscope, they then saw, oh, a woman has an egg. She's part of making a baby.
She's part of that. She, like, not only does she give birth to it, this is surely enough, right?
This is what I mean. So, you know, and this is only 100 years ago.
That's mental, isn't it?
And how long have humans been around? Like,
thousands. It is hundreds of thousands.
Mind blowing. And so I just wanted to add that fact in there because it always makes me laugh. But and then only in the past, honestly, few decades, women, especially, well, obviously in other cultures around the world, they still do that, of course, but especially in Western cultures, because of the ability to travel and experience other cultures, we've begun to remember, and so many amazing women have kind of brought it to their own communities. And I'm not saying like amazing women as in me, but it's taken a couple of years.
Yourself.
It's taken a couple of years, because I started attending women's circles when I was traveling, and they were profound. It was so beautiful. Like, I'd never gathered like that with women in such a way, from all different walks of life, sharing so many insane stories that you'd never hear in your own communities. All different ages, races, religions, freaking experiences, socioeconomic statuses. Like, it's
broadening your mind to, because you could,
massively.
I mean, I found this with lockdown. I don't know about you can get so stuck in your own story and your own circumstances, and whether you are single with a partner, I suppose, especially if you're single, I am right now, and you have so much time to be with yourself, that you can get so wrapped up in your own story and your own experience. And I think, and I'm fascinated by the history as well of that story. The storytelling in itself is so healing, but just hearing other women's experiences, there's this instant shift that happens within you, and it's even unexplainable, isn't it? You just go, oh, right, okay. And it's not in a way of judging or comparing or anything like that, but it's just this sort of, it's like someone taking your hand and saying, no, I'm with you. And there's you've nothing to be ashamed of wherever you are in your life, and there's nothing you need to do, but I'm with you, and I'm here.
Exactly. And that's exactly vibe I create in my women's circles, and obviously it's virtual, but there is something really beautiful about it as well, in the comfort of your own home. Just it works really well, actually.
Yeah,
it would, sorry. And I kind of set it up in a way that's, I kind of say what I just said at the beginning of each one, if there's anyone new, and just let them know that this is important, this is wonderful to do this. And I open the space with a meditation for people to really connect into their bodies, do a little bit of movement, even touch themselves. I ask them to touch themselves, not in that way, but to just feel their curves, feel their skin, embrace, and to connect to their body and be like, yeah, this is my body. And I allow them to, be kind as they do that. Because obviously some people, as I definitely know firsthand, to do that can be very intense.
Yeah.
So I just really soften the blow, and then we check in one at a time. I then set a theme for the circle. I draw a card, and we all just speak one at a time about how we relate to that. And again, it's what's lovely about Zoom is kind of one person speaking with the rest of us are muted. And what's lovely as well is, even though I'm the one with the Zoom link providing a meditation twice, everyone else is each other's teacher. We are all each other's teacher within the space. And so I'll be sitting there, like I literally mentioned the other day, and I was a mess. I was really struggling to hold the space because I wasn't okay. But by listening to the other women, I felt so much better. And after, I was like, oh my God, it was just a humble reminder that's like, oh God, yeah, I am part of that circle. It's so nice to not feel this, authority in it. It's just this
you're
really
held.
lovely
The circle can hold you.
Yeah, and we all laugh, we cry. Sometimes it's really lighthearted and really inspiring, and it's always inspiring, but sometimes we do go into heavier subjects, but we are really held because we all hold each other. And I'm very frank. I literally say, look, if you're not willing, if you're feeling judgmental, if you're feeling like you can't be in this sacred space, if you're someone who gossip, so I was like, please, there's a button right there that says leave this meeting. I encourage you to go. And that's the only kind of rudeness I apply, because I'm like, this is sacred, and if you don't feel like you can comply, please leave. It doesn't matter to me. And I mean that with love as well.
But it's with love that there is no place in this circle for judgment, gossip, because actually the next question I was going to ask you was, do you think that we have actually been conditioned as women to turn against each other?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. There's not an ounce of me that disagrees with what you just said. Yeah. I think especially in Western cultures, we are brought up essentially, and this is I'm saying what I'm about to say is very broad. Yeah. But women are brought up to be chosen. We're brought up to be chosen. We're brought up to make sure that we look good, that we're tight, that we're nice, that we are hard. We work well, we comply, that we say yes, that we, open up our legs. We are to be chosen to create a baby with in so many ways. And that can cause competitiveness amongst us, unfortunately. And that can show up vicious competitiveness. And it's very unfortunate because, up until, again, I'd say only in the past few years, I've started to really find beautiful relationships with women. But most of my life, I've been a guy's girl and just been very much women intimidated me, or I didn't like being around women because of the conversations maybe, or just, and not that guys are any better, but I just felt like I didn't have to, I could just be one of the guys, which is even hilarious to say as well, because it's why should I be one of the guys? We're all human. It doesn't even matter.
But it does illuminate that privilege that comes with being a guy, that with a guy, historically speaking, and this is also of course very general, anyone who identifies as a classic man, there is no expectation to show up with any form of makeup on or and whereas with women, it's we're told if we don't have makeup on, that I have myself sometimes is you unwell, you feeling ill? I said, no, I just didn't wear makeup today. That's
story of my life.
That's something that was said to me a few times when I was in my teens, and it was really, really didn't realize how much it affected me, that it became a daily habit of wearing mascara and concealer and making sure I, you know, looked as I was supposed to be perceived by the world, as a standardly beautiful woman who would be chosen because that was success in life.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, so it's no wonder that, you know, you preferred guys. And you know, there's been even shifts and changes with my relationships with women as I've come to discover my true nature of my true being. With coming into my cycle has been a huge part of it, of course. But you know, I found myself stepping away and distancing from conversations that I didn't realize actually had quite an agenda attached to them, where I had to come to the conversation with something. And even as I say it, my voice is going into a sort of trepidatious place, because I had to bring something. So, because, you know, the first question would be like, what have you been up to? And that is said so sweetly, but such a loaded question. How just about, you know, where are you at today? So different, you know. And I have now relationships with women that I know will either sit in silence with me, in some, which I think is so beautiful, and in other ways you can just sit there and you can say, you know what, I am not okay today, and that's okay. And they just go, yeah. And they don't go, yeah, well, maybe you should try, or maybe you should eat, or maybe you should do.
Yeah. And it's such a, you know, having this time, like you said, especially with regards to my healing that I've done this year, I'm holding myself so accountable for, because of how unhappy I was, being so brainwashed to tell people what they should or shouldn't eat because of my own insecurities, of my own, like, you know, oh, you're looking, oh my God, you look so thin. Oh my God, like, oh God, you lost weight. Like, oh wow, you look amazing. What are you doing? Oh, tell me what you're up to. Send me that YouTube link. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, vicious. And then even, you know, the amount of, and even when I was at my thinnest, I had people saying to me, oh my God, you look amazing. You look so, you know, you look so fit. And it's like, and something that, you know, I've been learning is, well, number one, we should stop commenting on each other's weight. That doesn't define who we are. And start telling each other, like, instead of, even if you think they look great physically, just being like, you look like, you know, you're glowing.
You're glowing.
Your hair looks amazing. I love what you're wearing. Like, there's other ways of saying it without having to comment on someone's figure, because essentially you have no idea what's going on in their brain. Like, I'm someone who doesn't look like they, you know, especially for the past 5 years, I haven't looked like I've had an eating disorder. But fuck me, if you told me that I look like I'd lost weight, I'd instantly be like, okay, I need to keep doing what I start going
trigger,
and it just feeds it.
Yeah. And people could be well-meaning with their words, of course, and it's our conditioning, and it's not anyone's fault. But I totally agree that this shift that, you know, we as women assist in with the world's shifting global and coherence and energy every time we share a women's circle or a meditation or anything, just helping to reprogram those minds that you are more than your shape and size. And really, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of what is attractiveness, in terms of who do I find attractive and why, be that in a sexual romantic context, or just, you know, gosh, that woman looks amazing. And what I think I've figured out is actually I am really attracted to health. To health, to someone like who's glowing, and you can see it when it really is inside out. And there's rarely a person I see that has really gone on that journey that we've both spoke of today of you know, and both, however dramatic either journey is, both are extremely valid, but have gone to the depths to explore themselves and really open themselves up to vulnerabilities and fun. I don't see any person that's done that internal work that looks riddled with disease or looks like they are exhausted or burnt out, or you can't even describe it. They are just glowing. And it doesn't matter what they do. for a living, nothing attached to any expectation. But those people who are so in touch and have found that inner nature and have stayed true to that, I don't see any of those people that I don't look at and go, I don't know why, but you are just beautiful. You just, wow. And that this lady could be 80 and I'm like, she's just beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
And I think I've discovered it's that someone is so in tune with themselves.
Content.
I think.
Yeah.
There's an attractiveness to that, and it's deeper than someone that I look at that go, whoa, yeah, wow, they look, it's almost intimidating. Some people I see on Instagram now where I go, God, that can't even be real. They're so polished. Jesus.
Yeah. And it's interesting how even as I had a really interesting conversation with my partner the other day, and as I kind of was, it was more like market research. I wasn't like, it sounds quite intense, I'm about to say, but obviously, we're kind of brainwashed as women to try to fit the beauty standard for the era. Like back in the day when it was Marilyn, it was maybe a bit more curvy. Then it was the heroin chic, the skinny fuck. But then and obviously nowadays it's like all the curves, but very, very tight, which is strong. Very, it's very unachievable unless you get plastic surgery, let's be honest, unless you have the body type.
Yeah.
If you have the body type, sure, whatever. So I was like, I said to my partner, I was like, do you, because of how society makes us see what perfection is, even like with guys, with girls, we're seeing guys with six pack and muscly, whatever. And I was like, would your head naturally turn to the beauty standard? And he was like, unfortunately, yes, because that's what we've been told to believe. And it's the same with women. Like if you see a guy, a solid body, your eyes are going to look. And it's like, back in the day, even going back like 100 years ago, if you were a large person, then that was deemed as attractive because you had the money to eat. Yeah. So I wonder, I'd love to ask a man back in those days and being like, would you, when you see a larger woman walk past, is that what all the guys kind of, follow as they walk away? Is that where the eyes go? And when they see like a smaller woman, do they not see her as attractive? Like, it's just so interesting how we are brainwashed.
It's a story. It's just a story, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just someone's idea of what needs to make money. And you know what? It's probably a rich white guy that's running all these companies that's, given us the, that is in charge of our happiness, unfortunately. That's in charge of our enoughness. And it's bullshit. I'm done. I'm absolutely done with it.
100%. But do you know what? These women's circles that you're doing and just all of the healing practices and just the message you're generally putting out into the world, which is something I'm very grateful for social media for, is that connection to the world. It has a very positive side as well. And
I think it's important to see the positive side as well. I do.
Yeah, I mean, where there's light, there's always dark. As we said, it's always going to be there. But to the more people that speak their truth in the most fuck it way possible, the more people are going to get that message and hopefully one day wake up to that. It doesn't need to be that way. Stop trying so hard. I was the biggest trier in the history. I tried so hard at life and it affected my relationships. It affected my relationship with my family. It affected everything. So I just I was like, no, I want it. I want to be successful without knowing what success was actually.
Yeah.
But just, I really want to be it and be good enough and, I'll do whatever, and it's not the way. So the more people that get that message, through storytelling, I think the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's been glorious. Where can people find you? Where can people join into these wonderful women's circles? I might start campaigning to get the biggest women's circle ever going. That would be great for your circle. Could you have 50 women just?
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. That's a dream. But so yeah, for everything to do with kind of what we've spoken about today, my @Megan Westpfel Instagram account is where to go. That's quite an interesting spelling, that one. So
I will put it in the show notes. People can just click a link. It's cool.
Thank you. I also have, I hope you don't mind me sharing my podcast information as well. I know we're on your podcast.
Share your podcast.
So my podcast is, you know, connecting to individuals to hear about how they have helped themselves and live. And it's called the Get to Know podcast, and the Instagram is at the Get to Know podcast, which I will certainly get you on. You're on my list, but I've just finished series 2, so series 3 you better watch out. And then I have my performer dancer account, which is at Megan Westpfel. So a few little resources there. And I have my Womxn Festival coming up, which is mentioned. So it'll just be a weekend of just nourishing our gorgeous selves with beautiful people like Georgie, who's guiding us through breath work on Friday, the 19th of March. And just really just good vibes, good things happening at the moment.
Absolutely.
So keep an eye.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to know, guys, get your tickets for that. As we've been talking about, just the power of women coming together and practicing and exploring. If you're new to all of these ideas we've been talking about today, you know, we've got Phoebe Hart teaching some yoga. I'm teaching some breath work. We've got amazing other practitioners coming in. And of course, Megan as well, leading us through some stuff. And I think it's just an amazing way to almost do a pick a mix of like, let's have a go at lots of different sort of modalities of healing. And you might really despise one and you might absolutely fall in love with another. But that, just like you said, it's the 1001 time that really it can hook you, and that can be the start of a beautiful journey, and it's all it takes. And so it's so reasonably priced, and it's so worth that ticket just to experience. And also, I think there's something about buying a ticket, isn't there, where, you know, you've bought a ticket to something or a class or whatever, you've committed to, I'm going to take that time for myself. This weekend is about me. I think there's something powerful in that.
Yes.
Really powerful. Yeah. So please buy your tickets to the Womxn Festival. It's so important, and it's really important work.
Oh, thank you so much, Georgie. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. No, you're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And you offer card readings as well, right?
I offer card readings. I offer card readings to kind of see how your year ahead could look and how you can self-regulate with advice and guidance. I also do one-to-one chakra cleanses where we work, just me and one other person, on a kind of 2-week venture exploring the chakras and really cleansing and healing the mind, body and spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. And then I have my meditations, which you can either buy as a package or on Insight Timer, but I do some Instagram lives. I've got my Instagram 21 morning meditation situation on my Mooley account. So lots of lovely things, but I guess the best way to keep up to date is my Instagrams.
Jump on Instagram and just see it all and keep exploring. Well, Megan, it's been amazing as per, and I expected nothing less. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been wicked.
Thank you, Georgie. Thank you.